We're going to keep rolling. Mexico election plot. We just were talking about China and them having their babies in the United States or territories of the United States, getting U.S. citizenship, living in China, able to vote in U.S. elections, able to get benefits. And now we have Mexico's election plot en masse, how Mexico's 50-plus consulates are running a shadow campaign to sway U.S. elections. Mexico's consulates across the United States are running a shadow campaign to bend American elections in favor of Mexican interests, according to Peter Schweitzer in his new book. With more than 50 consulates in the United States, Schweitzer writes the Mexican government is blatantly interfering in our domestic politics, working with American political advisors to turn legal and illegal migrants inside the U.S. into a political force to wield for the benefit of Mexico. In particular, Schweitzer writes, the Mexican government sends about 1 million textbooks to American schools every year to teach its version of U.S. history, among other subjects. Likewise, the Mexican-American adults in the U.S., Mexico consulates offer such courses, which Schweitzer writes is not meant to help assimilate a Mexican migrant to American life. Perhaps most consequential are the mass protests. Perhaps most consequential are the mass protests that Mexico's consulates help stage in the U.S., designed to combat anti-illegal immigration policies. So here you have a foreign government, in this instance Mexico, using mestizos, Mexicans, but mestizos more broadly, Central South Americans, as a force in the United States, is the claim by the author. And this guy's is the kind of guy to have citations, so you can go check it out, to benefit Mexico. And you thought multiracialism was a good idea. You thought it was a good idea. This kind of thing actually has been going on for a long time. They talked about it. I heard it at little house meetings. Different governments in Central South America, governments in Asia, primarily China, influencing their populations in Western countries, influencing movements that in the United States, in other Western countries, that would, if carried to fruition, in some way weaken those governments and peoples relative to the United States or to another Western country or to the West in general, in toto. Obviously, this is how the jungle works. It just, multiracialism cannot work. It absolutely cannot work. You can have people of other races and backgrounds in your country, and they can become magnificent citizens and participants and contributors, and you can laud them. You can honestly, deeply appreciate them for everything they do for the country of their adoption. But it can't become a country for everyone. It's got to be a people's country. And in the West, that's the white race, our country. And so, but this is what you have as a consequence. And so more evidence that this author is digging up of Mexico influencing protests to in various ways to undermine anti-illegal immigration. And you can imagine everything else, to undermine any taxation of remittances, to undermine any tariffs on Mexican goods, El Salvadorian goods, Brazilian goods. They're all doing it. They're all doing it. As far as I'm concerned, it's an act of war. If I were in charge, I would treat it as an act of war. And I would notify, in this case, the Mexican government, and I would say, I'm treating this as an act of war, and you're going to have to make a public apology. And if you ever do it again, we will respond as though you have engaged in warfare against us. I think that's the only proper and appropriate remedy for such behavior. You've got to send the message. You're not going to interfere in the pot. Because imagine, all the way down to like your county governance, and you're a person in Mayberry, you're some white guy in Mayberry or white woman, and you want X, Y, or Z, but your opponent, Noriega, has Mexico behind him. He's going to be getting information and money and etc. from Mexico, from the consulate. How are you going to compete with that? You can't. And so county government after town government, after city government, after state government, federal government, and policies and laws, they just fall one after the other. But you want to get together and have a free and fair election? Are you kidding me? There are no free and fair elections in a multiracial society, because every single country outside of that free and fair election Western country that belongs to the world is doing everything they can to influence the outcome in a way that favors them. This is rarely to never talked about, and it's one of those subjects that make multiracial democracy impossible. Just on its face, not possible. Most blatantly, Schweitzer notes former Mexican president Obrador, known as AMLO, touted toured American cities in February with the purpose of rallying Mexican migrants in the U.S. against President Donald Trump's border policies, which crippled drug cartel profits. So you actually have this AMLO. Can you imagine? You're some white guy. Maybe you're a chiropractor. You sell. Do they still do that silk T-shirt production? What was that called? You put some sort of symbols or whatever with like a team wanted or whatever. And you got that business and you're like, I want to make a difference in my community. I'm going to go out and I'm going to run for county, whatever. And then your opposition, it could be some psycho anti-white white woman, but because her policies are going to harm us and you and your community, and potentially then you're going to need a beneficiary, and the Mexicans are going to step in and here we are, senor. And so AMLO comes to back her up. You got a chance. Silk screening is what it's called. You got like the silk screening business. This is ridiculous. And you have this going on, and you really begin to see how inept and toothless the cucks are and the schmucks, the anti-non-whites. They're just children. They've got no hope in the jungle.